and two in April 2008, each time penetrating further and further into the bedrock. And by the end of it, we'd actually managed to get a distance of around 100 metres. But the place was extremely dangerous. It's a natural cave system. There are lots of pits and places where you can fall down and obviously damage yourself. Plus, it's full of bats. Plus, there are also poisonous spiders here. There are camel spiders. There are also white widow spiders that were recognised down here. And we realised eventually that the more we went in there, the more we'd have to cover up, because if we were bitten by any of these spiders, we'd be in serious trouble. Because the nearest hospital was several miles from there, and it would take so long to reach it that it could obviously be fatal. Now, the actual caves themselves existed clearly before the Pyramid Age. They've been there for tens of thousands of years, if not longer. And I believe that there is a possibility that they may have influenced the foundation of the Giza Plateau as a pyramid field during the Old Kingdom period, which was obviously around 4,500 years ago. And this is good evidence, I think, to show that Giza had interest and may well have been seen as sacred even before the time of Khufu and Khafre and Menkaure, the builders of the pyramids. And that maybe there's also a relationship with the Sphinx, which many obviously believe is far older than the pyramids themselves. So there may well have been some kind of sacred enclosure, some kind of veneration, of the caves, of which the Sphinx itself was some kind of guardian, because it was said that a lion was the guardian into the entrance of the cave underworld in Egyptian mythology. So the whole thing ties together. There are no hieroglyphs in these caves at all. What there are is very, very faded images in red, which may be natural, but there's also a possibility that some of them could be very faded rock art. And this is where we start getting into very interesting territory, because quite clearly we're dealing with a place which not only predates the Pyramid Age, but may even predate the Egyptian civilization as a whole. And therefore it's important to look at these caves from a much wider perspective than simply Egypt, from a more African perspective, and to perhaps look beyond the boundaries of Egypt itself for clues as to its symbolism and its purpose, and the role that it may have had even before the time of the pyramids.
Well, I guess what we can say as well, Andrew, is that this is obviously very much connected with Egyptian mythology. The story is about the underworld of the soul, the Duat, and that this is what we might be talking about here is a physical place for this. It might actually have been this that spawned the mythological stories about these things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the actual ancient name of Giza, which is Rostau, means the mouth of the passages, which is a clear indication that Giza was seen as the entrance into a cave underworld. And in the ancient books of the dead from Egypt, it talks about Rostau in this capacity, and it describes in detail the route that the soul of the deceased takes on their journey through the afterlife, so that they can be eventually reborn on the eastern horizon, symbolically like the sun, where they would then rise up into the sky and become at one with the stars that exist within the northern domain, the so-called circumpolar stars, or certainly the stars that are seen each night in the northern sky. The Milky Way was a big key here, but what we've found is that there certainly seems to be stars associated with the plateau. However, our research is a little bit more controversial than, let's say, the work of Robert Bauval, Orion Mystery, because it would seem that the Orion connections may be actually quite late in on the day, that there were earlier stars that were significant to Giza, and these would appear to be those of the so-called Northern Cross, or Cygnus, the celestial swan or bird, which is seen in the northern heavens, and is prominently positioned upon the Milky Way, at the position where the Milky Way breaks in two to form like two streams, which are known as the Dark Rift or the Cygnus Rift. This was seen universally as a place of birth and rebirth of some kind of cosmic mother, or cow mother, as she was known in Egypt, where she went under two names: Nuit, who was like the god of the night, god of the night sky, who was shown arched over the earth, and also she was known under the name Hathor, which basically means the house of Horus. When we say house, we mean basically the womb of Horus. She was the bearer, the mother of the god Horus in his older form, as the god who's shown as this hawk or falcon. And basically what these goddesses, these cow mothers or cosmic mothers, do is to symbolically give birth to the sun. This is done both on a daily basis on the eastern horizon, but it's also symbolically done once a year at the time of the solstices. I think initially it was the winter solstice that was important, and because of certain changes in other calendars that were working in sync, I think eventually this changed to the summer solstice. However, all of this is a backdrop to trying to understand the greater purposes of the caves at Giza. For instance, the female patron goddess of Giza is definitely Hathor. It is said, for instance, that she haunts a grove of sycamore trees just to the south of the Sphinx, where we uncovered a holy well that is also said to be another entrance into the cave underworld at Giza.
Yeah.
It is said that that she lives off the blood of the dead by picking the crimson red fruit that come from the sycamore, and this is not the European sycamore, this is the sycamore fig tree. And she picks the fruit from it, and she eats this, and this is like her eating of the dead. This is a modern Arab Egyptian tale that obviously contains some kind of symbolism that goes back to the time of the pharaohs. It is also said that women who wanted to conceive a child would go to this same grove, and they would there eat of the fruit of the sycamore figs and gain the blessing of Hathor to be able to do this. And this shows Hathor's connection with the idea of birth and rebirth, actually at Giza, which was obviously the cult connected with the soul of the deceased. He or she would be within the cave underworld, and here they would have to undergo a series of trials and tribulations in this underworld realm, which was actually known as the Duat. And once this had been achieved, and it also meant, encountering snakes, serpents, things like that, that they were able to be released, as I say, on the eastern horizon and be rebirthed like the sun. So in other words, they would come from the womb of Hathor, or in other traditions, the womb of Nuit, and be reborn and be free spirits that could rise up and become at one with the stars, those northern stars, the very stars associated with the original birth not just of the pharaoh, but also of life as a whole.